What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here in this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, I'm going to give a shout out in this video to Gold Matters, who specifically asked for it a while back, but now with the land hype starting to really get into gear, assuming that we're going to get it later this month, I wanted to dig into, I don't know, some speculation of what we can expect with the Secret of Praetoria research. Because for those who may not know, or if you've forgotten, there are three options when working your land. You can either get SPS, mine SPS, which has a value tied to it. You can mine for grain, which is going to be needed. All workers will need food, so it will be an essential part. Or you can go for the item that doesn't have a tradable token, at least not yet, or at least that's what the understanding is, which are the Secret of Praetoria research tokens. So in the white paper, which is what we're looking at here, we know of at least one major benefit, and that is going to be the harvesting, or sorry, not the harvesting, but the prefix titles, right? And that's not necessarily going to go live with 1.5. It might be a 1.6 thing, but at the end of the day, whoever has the most is going to be able to get certain benefits, right? You can see here there's the Overseer and Vonarch, but that's only 7 players, or 7 land plots, I suppose. When we think about what else there could be, the only hint that we're given is right here. We'll provide huge benefits, likely including airdrops as well as ongoing benefits to those who contribute to the project in direct proportion to their level of contribution. Okay, so let's start big, and then we'll come down and look at it a little bit smaller. What I'm thinking as something that could potentially happen, because we've heard that there could be competitions between different territories. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but if your territory has more or is the leader, for example, there might be benefits that your entire territory gets. Now, could that be like a boost on production? Maybe, although, you know, with SPS, like, again, I don't know how that would necessarily work. Maybe not with SPS, but with grain, right? Your entire region, or actually, and here's the thing, your entire territory, or you can scale this down at the region level too, where your entire region, if it has X amount or is like one of the top 10 percentile, they can get some kind of boost, or maybe they can get a reduction on the amount of taxes burned, things like that. There's a lot of different areas in which you could do ongoing benefits. So slowly and steadily, we're going to start to see that. And again, the discounts could be something as simple as, fees for transportation, fees for burning, whatever it is. When we get down into the smaller level, like the individual level, how do you incentivize the brand new player to come in, sees a plot for a couple bucks, or however much it is, like 40, 50 bucks, and says, you know what, I want to get a plot of land because I want to get XYZ benefit. And one plot of land will allow me to do that as long as I maximize it or whatever. Well, the airdrops are pretty easy, right? If we start to get new cards, and that's what I'm assuming they mean by airdrops, that's what my expectation will be. If we do other types of airdrops, what we could be prepared for with Land 2.0 is potentially getting a bunch of resources airdropped to you right off the bat. Now, I don't know what resources, what those resources will be able to do, because we won't necessarily be able to craft anything yet, but I have a lot of confidence that the team is going to find creative ways in which we can have fun with the resources. And keep in mind, there's going to be like 50 plus resources when those come into play before items and spells are able to be crafted, and then of course before items and spells are able to be played. But maybe there'll be some cool things that you could spend it on in-game or whatever the case is. So as we go forward, those are the two scenarios in which I could see airdrops happening, right? Airdrops of future resources. If you've done enough in 1.5, you get a benefit for 2.0 or a head start in 2.0. And then airdrops when it comes to certain cards. But there's already a ton of cards out there, and we have sets and we have rewards. So an idea that I've been kicking around, which I think would be great for Secret of Praetoria. So Matt, if you're listening, feel free to take this one, is to have a soul-bound reward card, or maybe even like a soul-bound reward set of cards. Sorry, not reward, but a soul-bound set of cards that you can only get by reaching a certain level of research tokens. Now, from my understanding, I don't think that research tokens, you don't, maybe they're going to be soul-bound, but I don't know if you're going to be able to burn them, right? So it's just about having as big of a stack as possible, and hopefully that's in proportion to everybody else. But if it's just from an absolute rather than a relative, and you can do both, right? So it's just like, I have 10 Research of Praetoria tokens, and therefore it gets me 10 out of whatever benefits for the entire thing. But also having 10 Research of Praetoria tokens unlocks a single BCX of this cool, soulbound card. That's not tradable, that's not whatever, but as long as I have my 10 tokens, right, I have this card available to me in ranked battle. And then maybe it's something where it's just like a simple common card, which isn't broken, but it's something that you would want to have. And so it's just like, well, you need to work your way and get, every token that you have in your bag is worth 1 BCX. So all of a sudden, everybody's going to be trying to get 400 research tokens. And this is why it's important and valuable for the individual, right? Because the individual can come in and say, from a perspective of like a new player, it's like, oh yeah, you know what? I really want to have access to that card. Let me get into the land game. Now, I don't care about all the resources and I don't care about all the whatever. That's going to be cool. But what would be fun is to get access to this card. And so therefore, I'm going to buy a plot of land. I'm going to work it with research and only get research tokens, which means they would be a net consumer of grain, so adding value to grain overall. They would also be tying up a land plot that will not be able to get grain or SPS tokens. So keep in mind, there's a scarcity, there's a level of scarcity there, and they're going to come in and try to get their research tokens, right? Maybe they get up to 400 and they're like, okay, that's good. Now you run the risk of like, if you sell your land, you're not going to lose your research token. So maybe they sell their land at that point and it's just like, I have the card. But what if it's something where it's just like, it's cumulative, right? So every 3 months, every 6 months, a new cool soulbound card is added in. And so it's just like, let's say they're all common cards, for example, and they have a theme. And so for the next like 2 years or whatever, every 3 months, every 6 months, there's going to be a new card added in. And so it's just like the first 400 tokens you get unlocks this card. Right? The 400 tokens still has value with whatever else they're going to do with Research of Praetoria. But it's like the first 400 tokens gets you a max version of this card. But then the next 400 tokens, right? So 401 all the way up to 800 will start to unlock the next one. People will continue to keep going and therefore mine research tokens for that reason. And research tokens can still have value across the board with everything else that you're doing from a macro perspective, right? Within your tract, within your region, whatever kind of competition you want to have from a territory perspective. But if the individual can come in and just get one plot of land and know that, like, you know what, I'm slowly going to work this over time. I get 10,000 for every 10,000 production points I generate towards the research task. I'm going to get a single BCX of this card available to me. That means in X amount of days, weeks, months, whatever it is, I'll have a maxed copy, right? And I'll be able to take the earnings, whatever, and use it. And here's the thing. Here's the beautiful thing about it. When you think about the fact that, like, oh, I don't want to be paying for this card long term, right? And putting so much into it, burning DEC or paying DEC for grain for so long, well, maybe that person buys 2 plots, right? They come in and they're just like, you know what? I'm going to buy a plot where I'm going to work for grain. I'm going to buy a plot that I work for research tokens. And all of a sudden, you start to see where it's beneficial for the individual to start building up their land business, as Matt calls it. But that's kind of the idea that I've had for this. And, it's something that can easily play out over the next couple of years and have a lot of value, because it's just a matter of like introducing a new card that's never tradable, it's never sellable, it's never unlockable, but it's just something that you have as a benefit of playing land. And again, keep it common. Let it be something like a Ruse or an Archimus the Bear, where you don't need it to win, but it is valuable and it has a lot of, it has some utility in game. And so, even just thinking this through, there's 7 splinters if you include neutral. That's something that you could do every 3 months over the next 2 years, right? It's just, it'd be perfect. They start it, maybe January 1st. So everybody starts getting their research tokens now. And then January 1st, that's when the first one is available. So it's however many research tokens you have. You get what I'm saying? Where every 3 months, all of a sudden, we're like super excited. And yes, maybe we still have like an additional promo card that comes in that's like tied to a promo set or tied to whatever. But this other card enters into the mix and people can start to earn their way up. And all of a sudden, people's decks start to look very different. Their collections start to look very different. But I spent a lot of time on that one just because I've been thinking so much about it. But that's kind of the idea that I have. They can do really cool stuff like that, where it's just you get benefits in the other aspects of the Splinterlands ecosystem, right? And so I'm not gonna dive deep into this, but it's just like, what if you could get benefits in tower defense too? Like, what if, for example, by working on your land and getting X amount of research tokens, you are able to unlock like a soulbound tower defense. And let's say they come out with another type of game in the future. All of a sudden, land gets all of this value because everybody wants a piece of it, because it gives them a little bit extra in whatever other game they're playing in the ecosystem. But that's kind of my thought here with Secret of Praetoria. I think that's an easy, I don't want to say it's necessarily an easy implementation, but I think it would be an easy win if the team were to do something like that. It's like, you design 7 cards that all have like a different theme, whether it's Venari, whether it's, whatever you want to do over the next 2 years. And that's just something cool. And then, of course, airdrops, other things, and items and spells. We didn't even jump into all that. But I'm going to go ahead and leave that here because I don't want this video to get too long. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.